Okay, so this mug has been sitting around for a little bit. So it has firmed up quite a bit actually. And so it's not super flexible anymore, but it's still, that clay color and still going to be nice and easy to carve. If it had gotten too dry, I would soak it in, well, not soak it, I would run it under some water for a second, the water soak in, run it under the water again, let it soak in again. Not too much, you don't want to sog it all out, but if it needed a little bit more moisture, remember you can add more moisture into the clay. Okay, so the first thing that I would do is I would look at areas around here and I'd just start cleaning these up and straightening them up a little bit. And I'd also work on the rim and getting that to be a little bit straighter and better. Finally, I would look at these lines on the borders, making sure that those were all straight and nice and even before I really started my carving. The flowers don't really matter so much because, like I've said so many times, they just have to look like. They don't have to be right, right? So, but these ones do have to sort of be right. Otherwise, well, they won't look right. Okay, so for this rim here, I think I just pushed it in before with my fingers. This time I'll get a wooden tool. So like this one here is good, how it's got this curved surface in it. I'm going to get my hand all nice and steady, just holding it down here at the bottom. See, just like this, but against the table. And just running it, trying to keep a nice, even pressure as I go around. Just like so. And I'm really going to be looking for the depth to get that depth just right. Okay, so I've got this nice and straight, and I've got the depth good on that. It's looking nice. It's got a nice line to it. I think I'm going to trim this little bottom part here, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tool here, line it up straight like that, and use that to get an initial trimming on it, holding it against the table and against here, just like so. Okay, so I've trimmed it up and I've cleaned it up a little bit. Probably look at the bottom too and make sure that it's good and round. I might take something that was round, let's say like this right here, and match it up to it eventually to make sure that I have this trimmed perfectly round because I just want that for my craftsmanship. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to look at is this top right here, which is very uneven if you look at it this way. So what I'll do is I'm going to take a piece like, oh, let's see, like this pencil right here. This would be good. Okay, I want to hold my hand flat, so I might need something to support it. So here's a water bowl and another just old piece of ceramics that was hanging out around the classroom. So just any old thing. That way I can get my hand nice and steady. And let's see here. We start at about the lowest point and just draw a line. Okay, so I've got a line that seems to be straight around here. Okay, so now little by little, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting through. It will take several times around to go through, but that's okay. I don't want to try and go all at once because I won't get a nice straight cut that way. Okay, so now it's cut all the way through, and that should be a bit more level. And I can clean this up a little bit. Okay, so this clay is really beginning to stiffen up. So while it still has just a little bit of flexibility left in it, I'm going to use something that's round, maybe that's something that's commercially made, just to check it, right? So just to check my opening and see, is it really round? Because the view from the top, that is just so absolutely important to how a finished piece looks. So then, once I've got it round and it's looking pretty good, then I can go ahead and start working on this part right here a little bit and getting it all straightened out. Once again, I'll use something to steady my hand so that I can go round and round. Here I'll hold the tool at a little bit different angle, more of a diagonal angle, to get down a little bit deeper like this. If this tool is not working for me, this tool, if you look, has just a slightly different curve going on. See how it dips in here? So we have lots of different wooden tools, and they all have slightly different shapes, and they can all be used in different ways. So I've got this bottom line and this top line pretty straight, and I've got the rim pretty level. Okay, so now looking at this rim right here, I want to make sure that it's really drinkable. So now if you've made a mug that is just absolutely square, straight up, then you're going to want to take some material out here, as well as maybe some from the sides, well, probably from the inside. And you're definitely going to want to round it because you want it to actually be pretty thin if it's going to come up to the mouth. It will be very uncomfortable and very unuseful if you leave it flat and straight. So here what I'm doing is I'm just going to take a little bit of the extra material off, using the mug itself to steady my hand. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I think I'll go ahead and use the flat surface of the table to make sure that I've got that rim really nice and level. And so now I know that I'm spending a lot of time on the rim, but it's super duper important to get the rim really nice because that's where you're going to be interacting with the mug the most. Eventually I'm going to smooth this down with a little bit of water, but I'm really looking right here to get this the same thickness all the way around, nice and consistent before I smooth it down. Because when I smooth stuff down with water, it's going to hide a lot of the imperfections, except that it won't really hide them. So if I do it now while I have these nice sharp angles to really be able to see, to measure with my eyes, then in the end when I do smooth it, it's going to be that much better. This looks pretty consistent now between this angle here and this here. You can see there's a little flat spot. The width of that flat spot is pretty consistent all the way around. So now I could go ahead and take a little bit of water and then just smooth it out. So not too bad. I didn't use very much water at all, barely a little bit on my finger to smooth that out a little bit. Any other inconsistencies I can always work with a little bit later to get them just that much more perfect. The next thing I'm going to do is work on making these border lines nice and straight. Here, I'll just start at the bottom, getting this one right here. The most important thing is I get my pencil set up, right? My pencil or whatever cutting tool that I'm using. So it's very firm on here so that this does not move in any way. Okay, so maybe right about here is good. Okay, so I'm not cutting, I'm just marking it, so don't go in too deep. Okay, so you'll see now that these lines are consistent from here to here and here, all the same width from the bottom and nice and straight. I'll do the same for the top. You can see that this new line on the top is much different than the original one that I got on there. That's okay. The original line was just sort of roughed in. And so that's, it was just to get a drawing on there in the first place. Now I can correct it, make it a little bit better. Okay, so now I'm going to have to do my horizontal lines. So in the classroom, I've got carpenter's squares like this. There's a triangle that's going to have a right angle to it. I have some old drafting triangles like this. This would work as well. But anything that's commercially made at a 90-degree angle, like this clipboard, for instance, that would work just fine too, because this has a nice right angle to it as well. I can hold it flat like this, you see, just like that. That works great. And the clipboard would work as well, just holding it flat like that. And that's going to give me my up and down or vertical angle. Okay, anyways, here we go. So here. Okay, so for this curved part right here, I found a lid from one of the glaze containers, and that was about the right size circle. And so I'll line that up about center-ish. And here I could almost just press it into the clay slightly. Yeah, that's working just fine. Just pressing it in, that's giving me my curve right there. And that way that curve is going to be nice and consistent as well. So I'm just going to line that up, about the same as it was down below. And just get a little curve into there, a little bit into there. Now it's not pressing in quite as deep, so here I'll just draw it right there. And once again, right here. There. And so now I've got this top and this bottom looking pretty good. Maybe I'll go ahead and erase some of my old lines. Just take a little bit of water, my tool, and I should be able to just rub those right out. So you can see how nice and even and consistent that all looks there. And so once again, by making it right, it's going to look right. The flowers, not so much, doesn't matter so much. But with these straight lines, then that's why I've got to kind of measure things out and, well, make them look good. And that's why doing graphics is a little bit harder, like doing a Spartans logo or something like that. A little bit tougher, actually, than just doing something that's artistic. Okay, so I've got these lines all straightened out here and here. Some of those old lines erased, so it's looking a lot cleaner. I also have drawn a line around here because I noticed that this was really uneven looking through here. Okay, so now I'm holding it in my hands and just getting it just so. It's okay, be picky. Well, I've got mine cleaned up as good as I can. Everything is pretty straight this way, pretty straight this way. We've got the rim, we've got the bottom. We've made all these lines in our borders nice and clean and straight. But don't worry if yours is not absolutely perfect. For one thing, it might be a little bit more charming if it isn't absolutely perfect. So being clean and straight on these lines here, that's just sort of my style. Maybe it's not yours. That's okay. The other thing is if you look at it, mine actually has quite sort of a tweak to it. This side slants in. You can really see it when it's on the rim here. But that's okay. It's actually, that happens a lot with the ceramics here because this table is on a slant. So just do your best And now in the next lesson, we'll begin carving it out a little bit.